Hi, my name is Stephen O'Neill, and today we are going to be talking about youth suffering from child abuse. Um, First, we need to define what that means. Both child abuse and neglect, and child abuse can include any of the following. With first, physical abuse, which is a physical injury inflicted on a child by another person other than by accidental means. Second category would be sexual abuse, um, which is sexual abuse, assault, or exploitation of a child. Um, then we have neglect, which is negligent treatment or maltreatment of a child by a person responsible for the child's welfare under circumstances indicating harm or threatened harm to the child's health or welfare. Um, this is considered neglect whether the harm or threatened harm is from acts of omissions or on part of the responsible person. Uh, Next, there's emotional abuse, the willful harming or endangerment of the person or health of a child, any cruel or inhumane corporal punishment or injury resulting in traumatic condition. Um, these are the different kinds of abuse that we all need to be on the lookout for. As far as prevalence in the United States, abuse and neglect of youth is far more common in the U.S. than many of us would like to believe. The CDC reports that at least 1 in 7 children have experienced child abuse or neglect in the past year alone. And that's a data point from 2022, so rather recent. These numbers are most likely an underestimate because so many cases of abuse and neglect go unreported. In 2020, 1,750 children died because of abuse or neglect in the U.S. So, until this is a real prevalent problem. Um, a lot of times we see this that children from families with lower income, lower socioeconomic status are far more likely to suffer from abuse and neglect for many reasons. Um, Experiencing poverty can place a lot of stress on families, which increases the risk for child abuse and neglect. Um, I was surprised to learn that instances of child abuse are 5 times higher um, for poor families, and that's another statistic from the CDC. Um, so be on the lookout for characteristics of students suffering from all of these kinds of abuse. So first, we'll look at physical abuse. Things to look out for are frequent or unexplained injuries, um, kids being hypervigilant or always on guard, jumpy, startling easily, um, injuries with patterns such as marks from a belt or a hand, um, and then kids who wear clothing to cover up injuries. For instance, a kid who wears long sleeves even though it's a hot day. Um, uh, Things to look out for, signs of emotional abuse. The students who are extremely withdrawn or fearful or anxious about doing the wrong thing. Um, Students who don't seem to be at all attached to a parent or caregiver. And also students who act inappropriately adult-like or inappropriately infantile. Um, Characteristics of students who are suffering from neglect. One of the big ones is bad hygiene. Kids who smell, they're unbathed, they've got matted, unwashed, tangled hair, but also untreated illnesses or physical injuries. Um, Frequently unsupervised or left alone or allowed to play in unsafe situations and environments. Maybe it's a student who's always, you know, waiting for a ride that's not coming after school. Um, Frequent tardiness and truancy. Kids who are always late to school, kids who show up for school, like you don't know if they're coming or not. Those are all signs of neglect to be on the lookout for. Um, Characteristics of students suffering from sexual abuse. Displays knowledge or interest in sexual acts inappropriate to their age or even seductive behavior. Um, Make strong efforts to avoid a specific person without an obvious reason. Unwillingness to change clothes in front of others. And then sexually transmitted diseases or pregnancy, especially in children under the age of 14. What are we looking for? What can we do to support and prevent instances of abuse and neglect? First, we report everything. All school and district employees, administrators, athletic coaches are what's known as mandated reporters. We are required by law to report anything that we suspect or know to be abuse or neglect. I think it's important to know and remember at all times that it's not the job of the mandated reporter to determine whether or not the allegations are valid. The simple suspicion is enough that the report is necessary. So who do we report to? Reports need to be made immediately over the telephone and should be followed up in writing with law enforcement. So the guidelines clearly state that it is not enough to just report it to your supervisor or district employee. It needs to be reported directly to law enforcement, including, but maybe not even limited to, police department or sheriff's department, not including the school district police department or school security department. So we need to go to like actual law enforcement. County probation department, if designated by the county to receive child abuse reports, or county welfare department, child protective services. In LA County we have DCFS. They would be the one for us to call, if not the police. And then all of the information found in this presentation was from either the California Department of Education website or the CDC website. Thank you.